A story that will really touch your heart. What happens to Pakistani and Indian people in UAE? How do they live there? I am going to explain one such true story today. About 10 years ago, I heard a similar story from my friend, and then when I was watching this movie, I remembered the story told by him. Najib is picked up by this cruel Saudi sponsor and taken to a remote desert where he has to take care of many goats. But Najib came to Saudi Arabia on a company worker visa. So what is it and where is it being taken? Far away, only sand. No one can escape from here, and even if some tried it did, no chance of survival. Najib and Hakim are trapped by this ignorant and cruel sponsor. Hard bread like wood to eat, no place to bake and no money. Where after spending some months, his condition becomes like that of an 80-year-old man. Will Najib and Hakim survive from such a place or not? Let's go to the detailed explanation of the film to know. This man is scared, drinking water from a goat pot, looking at his condition as if he came out of a cave after 1,000 years. The scene shifts from here to the airport.
Company work, help us.
Najib and Hakim are looking for their sponsor after landing in Saudi Arabia. Both of them have come here on company visa, but no one has come to pick them up yet. They ask for help from an Indian there. He calls his company, but no one picks up the phone. All the workers who came here were taken by their sponsors. It was 8 o'clock in the night while waiting. A wild Arabian was passing them again and again. He would look at their passport and move on. Maybe he is also looking for his worker. After waiting for a long time, when his workers do not come, the wild sponsor confirms from the passports of both of them that these two are from India and have come here to work. He keeps the passports of both of them. Najib opens the door to sit in the car. Seeing them doing this, the sponsor gets angry and abuses both of them and asks them to sit in the back seat. Hakim asks Kafil for water, but he continuously abuses him and asks him to sit back. Both of them were very surprised that their company could not even send a decent vehicle for pickup. On the way, both of them ask for the phone from the sponsor to inform their families, on which they are also abused. The car was running continuously in the desert for a long time. Hakim had fallen asleep. Finally, they reach a deserted place in the desert. Kafil asks Hakim to get down from the car, and he hands it over to a man named Abu Kabir here. But Hakim refuses to work here. He said that we both have helper visas of the same company. Kafil once again abuses both of them and takes Najib with him in the car and leaves Hakim alone. A few hours later, the sponsor also leaves Najib in the desert to a man named Yasser. Here, far away, there was only sand. Najib is seen here by an old man, whose condition was very bad. Big hair, tangled beard, weak and very tired body. And he looked Indian. Najib goes to her and asks him for phone and water. The old man points towards the tanker in front. Najib runs to him and starts drinking water, which could be guessed by how thirsty he is. Najib asks the old man where he should sleep. He says that he can sleep anywhere. Najib goes inside the tent and spreads the cloth and he sleeps next to Yasser. With this, Najib reaches back to his village in Flashback, where he takes out sand from the river and sells it. Due to working in water, his physical condition was very bad. The doctor forbade him to do this. That's why one of his friends tells that his brother-in-law has visas for Saudi Arabia. I can talk to him about your visa. Najib has to mortgage his house to pay for the visa. Najib Karwada asks the visa agent that he will not be scammed. He gets angry and says, if you don't believe me, keep your money back and leave here. He says that I have sent more than half of the villages to Saudi Arabia. Najib's wife and mother are sitting at home preparing food. He was very happy about Najib going to Saudi Arabia. After some time, Najib also comes and asks his mother to prepare biryani so that he can eat biryani from his mother's hands for the last time. It is seen that Najib is very worried about his wife because she is going to be the mother of his child. And with that, Yasser kicks Najib and he wakes up in the tent in the present. Yasser scolds Najib for sleeping in the tent and asks him to go out and sleep. The next day, Najib wakes up to the sound of goats. He sees the old man milking goats. He takes the milk to Najib, who starts drinking milk as he is very thirsty. The old man yells at Najib and says that this milk is not for us, it is for Yasser. Najib takes the milk and stands outside Yasser's tent. Yasser asks him to come inside, and he himself drinks all the milk. Yasser asks the old man to teach him all the work of goats. Najib did not understand anything. Yasser gets angry and abuses him and asks him to get out of here. Meanwhile, the sponsor reaches there in the car. Najib comes running to him, As soon as he sees Najib coming towards him, he asks him to take the goat food. Najib picks it up and throws it in the tent, and tells the sponsor that he has a helper's visa in the company and an air-conditioned room for him to sleep. It was promised to be given, and he also sees the corresponding paper. The sponsor tears all his papers, which scatter and start flying in the air. Najib used to collect these papers and started looking at him with great sadness and pain. Najib understands that these two must be hiding something from him. After that, Kafil and Yasser sit in the tent and start making bread. Kafil calls Yasser to come and eat. Najib was not giving any response, but due to being very hungry, he comes to the tent to eat. The bread was too thick and hard. Yasser asks Najib to dip it in water and wet it and eat it. The next day, Najib goes with the old man to graze goats and asks him to run away from here. He tells that the road is too far from here and he cannot run away from here. While sleeping at night, Najib remembers the beautiful moments he spent with his wife, and also that they are going to have a baby soon. Both of them have already thought of his name. Next day, Najib is using water to clean himself, seeing which the guardian gets angry and abuses him and takes the water away from him. The old man tells him to clean himself with sand. Najib was a resident of a place where water was everywhere, and here he did not have even a drop of water. How painful his life had become. Next day, an Indian man comes to supply water. Najib has been asking him for help to run away. Kafil listens to both of them. He starts beating Najib with a whip. Najib grabs her hand to stop her from hitting him. Seeing this, Kafil gets angry and starts threatening him by bringing a gun from the tent and hits him on the head with the backside of the gun, which knocks Najib unconscious, and with it, Najib once again flashes back. He reaches his village where he is freely bathing in the river. Next day, the old man disappears somewhere. Yasser asks Najib to milking the goats. It was looking very difficult for Najib to do this. Meanwhile, a mischievous goat comes and hits him, which knocks Najib unconscious. After some time, the sponsor comes there and picks him up by shaking and beating him and asks him to take care of the goats. Now months have passed and Najib has learned to manage goats here. Then one day, his eyes fall into the car window, in which he is scared to see himself. His condition was exactly like that of the old man. Meanwhile, the sponsor comes there and breaks the glass. Najib tries to shorten his beard with this broken glass, but he is not successful in it. He is very broken inside, and that is why he tries to commit suicide. Then his eyes fell on the rock below, where many vultures were scratching and eating a body. Najib goes to him, which is none other than the old man's body. Seeing all this, Najib starts crying once again and asks the Creator for help. He tries to run away from there once again. The sponsor sees him running away and chases him with his camel, catches him and beats him well, and ties him with goats at night. But due to weakness and injuries, he could not even move from there. And he starts drinking water from the place of the animal. A year has passed. Najib is grazing goats like every day. Suddenly it starts raining heavily. Najib takes the goats and goes under a rock. At the same time, he hears the sounds of goats from a distance. Najib follows the sounds and finds the herd of goats, which is none other than Hakim, who is also in a very bad condition. It was done. As soon as they see each other, they reach out and start crying loudly. For the next few days, both of them keep in touch with each other through text messages. Hakim makes him meet with another friend of his, Ibrahim. Ibrahim tells him that after a few days, the sponsor's daughter is getting married, and they will all go to their respective homes for a day. Meanwhile, this will be a golden chance for us to escape from here. And as soon as that day comes, Najib leaves from here after feeding the animals with plenty of fodder and taking a good bath and changing his clothes, and soon they all meet at the place indicated by them. These three were very tired and they were very thirsty. They see a tent on the way, and Abraham secretly tries to fetch water from there. The owner of the tent sees him and starts firing, thinking him to be a thief. Ibrahim escapes with great difficulty. It was the next morning. The heat was very high and their condition had deteriorated due to hunger and thirst. Then they saw a dead body of a camel on the way, which was rotting. Hakim is very afraid to see that this situation is not going to happen to him either. After some time, these three start praying. Meanwhile, many snakes come out there. Abraham tells them to stay still in their place, by which they avoid these snakes. Najib's feet were swollen due to continuous walking, and it wasn't going any further. Abraham cuts and ties the cloth on his feet and he starts walking again. Abraham was physically stronger than both of them, and that is why he was walking in the desert with ease. Hakim suddenly starts seeing water due to reflection in the desert, and he starts putting sand in his mouth while running. At that moment, water starts flowing from his mouth and he dies. Meanwhile, a sandstorm comes, and they have to leave Hakim's body there unwillingly. The sandstorm had stopped, and finally they found a pool of water. The next morning, Najib finds that Ibrahim is missing and leaves a bottle of water and dates for him. Najib starts walking again after drinking this water and finally reaches the road. But seeing his condition, no one was stopping the car. The next morning, a good man stops his car for her who felt sorry for her condition. He gives her water to drink and leaves her to the city where the Indians take her with them. They bathe her, feed her, and have her examined by a doctor. He went to the police station to get a duplicate passport where he saw Abraham's picture in missing person. All the people were taken to a hall-like place where their sponsors come and see their own slaves who want to run away and return to their homeland. The sponsor begins to brutally beat one of his slaves in front of the police. Najib is very afraid to see his sponsor here. He comes close to him and says that if you were really my servant, I would have beaten you and taken you away from here. Najib was betrayed because of his inability to understand the Arabic language. After 3 months in Saudi prison, Najib is sent back to his country. And this is a painful end. If you like my explanation, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.